Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path Uddhava-gita course. My name is Giridhari Das and today we're continuing with Krishna teaching Uddhava the basics, the very beginning of yoga knowledge, and he is establishing in these classes how you can obtain spiritual enlightenment by the strength of your human life. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of human life, how to use that with your intelligence, and what we can learn from a telephone directory. So don't forget, this class is available for 1 week here for everyone to see, but after that, if you want to see the previous classes, you must join the Bhakti Club. And the instructions for joining the Bhakti Club are here in the descriptions of this video. So let's get started. We are doing verse 21, and we are in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th chapter, and this is verse 21. Krishna says, in the human form of life, those who are self-controlled and expert in the spiritual science of Sankhya can directly see me along with all my potencies. So he's explaining how we have to use our intelligence. And this is what I love about yoga. Yoga is really focused on learning, getting knowledge, and using that knowledge, using your intelligence to perceive life in a different way, to understand life, understand who you are. And there, with that thinking capacity, go beyond a lesser quality of life, to go up and up in consciousness until you attain spiritual perfection. So Krishna is saying that we have to be self-controlled and know Sankhya. So what's Sankhya? If you're just getting here, Sankhya basically is just another word for saying the knowledge of yoga. So just, in other words, you have to not only have this knowledge, which Krishna is teaching here in the Uddhava-gita, not only do you need this yoga knowledge, this jnana, but you need to be self-controlled. So in yoga, to be able to raise your consciousness, it's not enough to just have the knowledge. There is a behavioral component necessary. And that's why you have the yamas and niyamas in yoga. You have all these instructions on behavior, the focus on dharma. So you have to be able to take that knowledge and use it. And to do that, you need to be in control of your mind, of your body, of your life. You need to control yourself. The other day, I got a message from one of my students, and he was really disturbed because he'd impregnated another woman outside of his marriage. So he's married, he has children, and he got some other woman pregnant. And so he's like, giant mess. But then I'm trying to help him. But then he says, why did this happen? Is it karma? And I said, what do you mean? Why did you did it? I mean, it's because you weren't controlling yourself. Why do you mean, how did this happen? Of course, you didn't control yourself. So you have to control your mind. You have to be able to control yourself. You can't blame karma or God or the universe. No, you have to control yourself. So it's not good enough just having knowledge if you can't put it in practice. So self-control, big topic in yoga, of course. So Krishna says self-control and Sankhya, purport. We find the following statement in the Vedas. In the human form of life, the soul is fully endowed with intelligence to understand spiritual knowledge. Thus, in human life, the soul may speak realized knowledge, see the truth, know the future, and also understand the reality both of this world and of the next. Taking advantage of the experience of mortal life, the soul in human form may endeavor for immortality and the human body is fully equipped to achieve this end. In such an elevated state, the soul is certainly well acquainted with the ordinary activities of animals, such as eating and drinking. So this is a great statement from the Vedas. So the human form of life, it's so important. I try to impart this onto my students. Understand that this is so incredibly rare. This is so amazing that you're here in a human body. You really have to stop and think about it. I mean, just look around you, how many different life forms there are. Look how many insects, how many plants, birds and animals, and just look around you and just see how much life there is and how much of that is in a human form. I mean, the scientists tell us that just in our gut alone, we have trillions of beings living there. Trillions. And in the whole planet, we have 8 billion people. Just in your gut, it's like, what is it? What's the math? 100 times more? 200 times more living entities in your gut than humans in the whole planet? And then think about all the insects. So this is so incredibly rare. It's so special that you're in a human body. And as the Vedas say, and as you know, you're probably experiencing this, in this human body you have this chance. You have this chance to understand spiritual life. Because in this body is endowed with intelligence to understand spiritual knowledge. So here we're sharing the Uddhava-gita. And my plants are hearing the Uddhava-gita just the same as you are, but they cannot make use of it. Right? I don't think so. I could ask, but it doesn't look like they're making use of it. So, they can't make use of it, but you can, because you're in a human form. You have the choice not to. You can waste the opportunity, but you have this ability, and that's why we shouldn't waste the opportunity. That's why we should never waste human life just with, the ordinary activities of animals, as it was stated here. Because this is a rare, super rare chance of becoming immortal again, of achieving our natural immortality again. That's what's at stake here. The human form of life, Purushatva, is very significant because it affords us the opportunity to perfect our existence. The Sankhya system mentioned here is best illustrated by the instructions of Lord Kapila to his mother Devahuti. So Lord Kapila is another famous avatar of God, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam you'll find these instructions in the 3rd canto. So we're in the 11th canto. In the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, very large, very long, huge instructions by Lord Kapila to his mother, interestingly, Devahuti. It's interesting that the person who's receiving this spiritual knowledge is his mother. So, it just shows that women are valued in the Vedic tradition. They are considered, just as high as men. He's receiving the most, because Kapila's instructions, they're a little difficult. They're not so easy to understand. So he's receiving the highest instructions, the most difficult instructions in the Bhagavatam. A woman is receiving them. So there's no doubt about women and men, not in the Bhagavatam. These things came later. This kind of male chauvinism came later. It's not in the Bhagavatam. So, this Sankhya, so Lord Kapila is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his mother approached him saying, Nirvina nitaram bunam asadindriya darshanat yena sambhavya manena prapanandam tama prabhu. So she comes to her son, because she knew her son, was God. And she says, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 25, verse 7. It's beautiful, it's beautiful, kind of poetic and deep at the same time. You know, and this is the mood we have to be in, right? Last class we saw how Uddhava was in the mood for receiving. He placed himself in the position to receive transcendental knowledge. And here we see another example with Devahuti. This is like, you have to, like, I'm sick of it, you know? I'm sick of just floundering around in the material world. I'm in ignorance, so you recognize the situation is dire, you recognize that you need help, and then things happen. Then you can take off. So Lord Kapila delivered to his mother a highly analytical summary of all material and spiritual reality. This is Sankhya. That is the definition of Sankhya. Okay? Sankhya means enumeration. The word Sankhya means so it comes from enumeration, to list. And it's a way to analyze reality, like what are all the crucial elements of reality. It's kind of like science, but science ignored the spiritual part and just, okay, you know, just let's study the elements of material energy. So it's the same concept as modern science, but it includes spiritual components, consciousness, soul, and God, and the modes of nature, etc. Thus, in a Krishna-conscious society of liberated souls, any man, woman, or child may become a great devotee of Lord Krishna without discrimination. It is also significant that in the highly intellectual Sankhya system enunciated by Lord Kapila, the solid conclusion is surrender to the lotus feet of the pure devotees and love of Godhead. In Lord Kapila's instructions in the 3rd Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he emphasizes the need to take shelter of the pure devotees of the Lord. In the present verse, Lord Krishna says, Sankhya Yoga Visharadha, those who are expert in taking shelter of pure devotees and who can thus understand the actual situation of the world are able to see Krishna in his personal form, along with his internal and external potencies. A spiritual master becomes bona fide by his full surrender to his spiritual master. That's how it works. It's called the parampara. You learn this openness that Uddhava showed to Krishna. Oh, I want to receive your knowledge. I need your help. Please guide me. So that openness, then he can receive knowledge. And then if somebody wants to get knowledge from Uddhava, they will have to do the same thing. Oh, Uddhava, I need help. Yeah, please guide me. That's how the parampara works. We open ourselves. Yes, thank you. Please help me. And thank you. And then somebody comes, please. Okay. But they have to open, and then the knowledge goes down. Somebody can't teach you if they haven't gone through the process. They haven't received the knowledge properly. That's how it works. This means that an intelligent and perceptive person can understand the nature of this world and his own limitations. Such a person then becomes very much inclined to associate with the pure devotees of the Lord and to receive the mercy of those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sankhya Yoga, as described here, refers to the rigorous intellectual progress of the Jnana Yoga system, along with the devotion of Bhakti Yoga, which emphasizes the mercy of the lotus feet of the pure devotees. Actually, Jnana Yoga is a factor in the Bhakti Yoga system, since Krishna is Jnana Gamya, or the goal of all knowledge. The Lord also says in Bhagavad-gita 10:10 that he personally enlightens a sincere devotee with all knowledge. In this chapter, Lord Krishna is training Uddhava to see the Lord's personal form in the course of his daily experiences in the material world. The Lord has already indicated to Uddhava that he will travel throughout the world in samadhi or trance. And now Lord Krishna is preparing Uddhava to travel as a true sannyasi, seeing the personality of Godhead. everywhere. Okay, so now verse 22. In this world, there are many kinds of created bodies, some with one leg, others with 2, 3, 4 or more legs, and still others with no legs. But of all of these, the human form is actually dear to me. So here Krishna is emphasizing the importance of the human form. And it's funny, there's this, analysis by the number of legs. But the point is simple, that this form is dear to God. Why? And that's why, even in Christianity we say the human form is in the, likened to God. It's like, that's what God looks like. It's not anthropomorphism. Sorry about that. It's not that it's based on the form of God, of man. God is not based on the form of man, but man is based on the form of God, actually. So this form is like this because it is the most dear form to God, because it is in these human-like forms. And the Vedas talk about 400,000 different human-like species. So you can imagine, like, universe being populated, like as we see in sci-fi movies, by all sorts of different forms, human-like, humanoid forms. So this form is dear to God because it is the form in which you can attain enlightenment. This is the form where you can get out of the material world of samskara. So it's not that God is based on humans, but humans are based on God. Purport. The ultimate purpose of material creation is to facilitate the return of the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Since this redemption of the conditioned souls is especially possible in the human form of life, naturally this form is particularly dear to the compassionate personality of Godhead. Verse 23. Although I, the Supreme Lord, can never be captured by ordinary sense perception, very important point, those situated in human life may use their intelligence and other faculties of perception to directly search for me through both apparent and indirectly ascertained symptoms. So this is important. First thing, Krishna says, God, I cannot be captured by ordinary sense perception. What does that mean? Is you have the common question by the atheist, oh, show me God, like show me God. Like you can just like, oh, here it is, like you pick up like a piece of dirt or a rock and here it is. No, you can't perceive God with ordinary material senses. Why? Because God isn't material. So he's the wrong thing. It's like my spiritual master says, it's like, it's trying to pick up, weight by using a thermometer. It's like, that's the wrong thing. With a thermometer, you're going to pick up, data pertaining to temperature, not pertaining to weight. So you have to use the right instruments to see the right thing. So with the material senses, you won't be able to see a spiritual supreme being beyond all matter. So he lays that out, he makes that clear here. But how come then we have all these humans who do perceive God? And we're trying to tell, hey, we're perceiving God. It's and then they'll say, why? Because you can use your intelligence and other faculties of perception. So that's why you can perceive God. I can perceive God. And, for since forever, people have been perceiving God. A portion of the human population has perceived God since forever. Right? Why? We're not making it all up. It's just not this huge, endless hoax. You can perceive God because we're using our intelligence and other faculties of perception, good sense, logic, feeling, etc. So you perceive God in other ways. But the first thing, intelligence, you have to use your intelligence, and that intelligence then has to be fed with knowledge. And that's why the yoga concept I always try to, point out. First knowledge, then you get up to bhakti, to devotion, to everything else. First knowledge. That's why, Uddhava-gita is so important, Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam in general. First knowledge. There's a different system. It's not faith-based. And, what you pick up more in the Christian tradition, for example, more faith-based. No, believe. You just believe. Believe there is, accept, believe. And go from that platform. But with yoga, it's really about intelligence, Sankhya. Let me explain to you how the world works. Try to understand these things. And then it explains knowledge, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then from there, you can start using your intelligence to perceive the Lord. So it's a very important point. Krishna is leading up to the first big story in the Uddhava-gita about using your intelligence, about perceiving God in everything around you, using a bit of spiritual science. We're going to get to that. It's a great section of the Uddhava-gita that we're going to reach soon, in the next chapter, I think. So, purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and again, who is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? He's a great spiritual master in our tradition from the 17th century, born 1626. So, 17th century, a great spiritual master. The word yukta, which means connection. The word yoga, yukta, same thing. The word yukta in this verse indicates those engaged in the regulative practice of bhakti yoga. The devotees of the Lord do not abandon their intelligence and become mindless fanatics, as some fools think. It's a very important point. In yoga, you don't become a fanatic. You don't abandon your intelligence. We don't ask people not to ask, not to think, much to the contrary. What we're doing is saying, please think. We're actually doing the opposite. At least that's what I've been doing for decades. I'm just saying, please think. Think about it. Ask yourself, find out, inquire. So it's not at all about abandoning intelligence. It's the other way around. Abandon ignorance. Abandon illusion. Who are you? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? What is consciousness? These questions are not answered. Where did everything come from? Why are there such precise, beautiful, perfect laws of nature? Who's the lawmaker? Who's the law keeper? How does this all work? These things need to be answered. Consciousness, who is asking these questions? Who are you? You have to inquire. And where will you find these answers? You'll find these answers in the spiritual text, especially in the yoga spiritual text, Uddhava-gita, Bhagavad-gita, and so on. The devotees of the Lord do not abandon their intelligence. As indicated by the words Anumanta and Guner Linghe, a devotee engaged in Bhakti Yoga intensely searches out the personality of Godhead through all of the rational faculties of the human brain. The word mrighayanti, or searching, does not, however, indicate an unregulated or unauthorized process. So I'm going to search for God. I'm going to find God. You're just going to do it any old way, like any crazy way. You're going to, just take drugs or something, or, stand upside down and hope you become it. No. So how are you going to conduct this search? Well, you have to do it the right way. And this is part of jnana. This is part of the knowledge being imparted. You have to do it the right way. If we are searching for the telephone number of a particular person, we look in the authorized telephone directory. Similarly, if we are searching for a particular product, we go to a specialized store where we are likely to find what we're looking for. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not a product of the imagination, and thus we cannot whimsically imagine what the Lord might be, which some people try to do. Therefore, to gain information about Lord Krishna, one must conduct a regulated search in the authorized Vedic scriptures. So this is what we're saying. This is what we can learn from the telephone directory. If you want to find a phone number, you have to go to the proper telephone directory. You have to search in the right place, in the right way. So what tradition in the world gives detailed information about God? There is only one. This one. Only in the Vedas, only in the Bhagavatam, Krishna tradition will you get detailed information. People get angry at me. It's like, oh, what are you saying? That only yoga, nothing else. This sounds like kind of stupid, radical things. Everybody says, the Muslims say only Islam, and then those Christians say only Jesus saves, and you're just doing the same thing. You're just as stupid as they are. I get that kind of criticism. I got it today, in fact, from someone. But that's not what I'm saying. It's not like, oh, I'm just saying and you're just saying, but I'm just saying it louder. That's not it. It's objectively, this is where you get information on God. This is where you get detailed spiritual science. There is nowhere else. I've studied Bible. I've studied, the Quran. It's not there. Let's be honest. Let's just be objective. They have wonderful moral teachings. They have some inspiring stories, contradicting stories in the case of the Bible. But, it's not this kind of detailed spiritual science. You're not your body, you're an eternal soul, the law of karma, material world, spiritual world, avatar. These things, karma, you don't get anything like that outside of the Vedas. It's just objective facts. And you certainly don't get any information on God. I mean, practically zero. There's zero information on God in the Bible and in the Quran. Just like, oh, great and powerful and loving. Okay, sure. But like, what does he look like? What does he do? What does his associates do? I mean, you get zero. What does he look like? Nothing. There's nothing like that. That's why you have that image in Christianity, the famous, Da Vinci, that old, fat, old, bearded guy is God. Because they just have, it's like, oh yeah, he's old. I don't know. He must have a beard. I mean, the old guys here have beards and kind of fat, because they don't have any information. It's not written anywhere. And here you have the information. So it's not like, oh, I'm just saying what they're saying. It's objectively, if you want to find spiritual knowledge, this is where you have to come. Again, if you just want to search out for God whimsically, just do whatever you want, sure, whatever, I'm just going to smoke and I'll see God, fine. But if you want to do it properly, in this planet called Earth, there is no other source material like this. That's what I'm trying to say. Some people, again, misunderstand me, but that's what I'm saying. Objective truth. Objective truth. And you having a chance to get it. So, therefore, to gain information about Lord Krishna, one must conduct a regulated search in the authorized Vedic scriptures. The word agrahyam in this verse indicates that no one can achieve or understand Lord Krishna by ordinary speculation or through the activities of the material senses. In this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami states the following verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Atasi Krishna namadi na bhavid grahyam indriyam sevan mukhe jivadho swayam eva spurati adham. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord, or the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. The word grihamanir gune indicate the rational and intellectual faculties of the human brain. All these can be used to directly and indirectly perceive the personality of Godhead. Indirectly, one may experience the Lord through His creation. Since we are experiencing the world through our intelligence and senses, we may conclude that our own intelligence must have a creator, and the creator is therefore supremely intelligent. Thus, through simple logic, any sane person can understand that there is a supreme personality of Godhead who is controlling everything. One may also directly perceive the Lord through chanting and hearing His holy names and glories. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu means that one should always chant and hear of the glories of the Lord. One who perfectly hears and chants will undoubtedly see the Lord face to face. Lord Krishna is all-pervading, and one should search for Him everywhere. By the transcendental senses purified by Bhakti Yoga, one may directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As indicated by the word adha in this verse, this perception is direct and not imaginary. This point has been elaborately explained by Srila Prabhupada in his purport to this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.35. Bhagavam sarva bhuteshu lakshite satmana harim drishyer buddhi adibir drashta lakshaner anumapake. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being, along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from our intelligence. Very good then. So I hope you enjoy this, and we'll be back next week if Krishna permits, and have a rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.